Hello everyone, this is the sixth video in the series of SPFx course. So far we have seen some basic videos regarding the overview of SPFx, how we can set up the development environment, Hello World web part, SPFx workbenches, and in the last video we have seen SPFx file structuring. In this video we will see how we can perform the CRUD operation in SharePoint list using SPFx. We will see the SPFx CRUD operation using SPHttpClient. So without further delay, let's get started. Hi all, my name is Mayuresh Joshi, writer at office365notes.com. On this blog, I write articles related to SharePoint. So if you navigate here under SharePoint SPFx course, you can find the link for CRUD operation using SPHttpClient. Just open the link. So here I have given the details about how you can perform the CRUD operation using SPHttpClient. So let's see. So here we have to create one list with the employee details as a list name. We will add one column as age, and we will use the title column to save the full name of the employee and age for age. So here is my SharePoint site. If you don't have any subscription and if you want to create any test site for your own learning, you can watch my video how to get the Office 365 Enterprise E3 license. In this license you can get a SharePoint site. So here is my list employee details. Here I have created one single line of text column as age. This title column is default column, so we have only these two columns in this list. So this is regarding the list schema. The second step is I have created a folder with the name SPFx CRUD on my local machine under E folder. So let's create this folder. So here is my E drive. Under that I have one folder, and under that I'll create one new folder where I will create my SPFx solution. Okay, so this is the folder. Just open this. The third step is copy the folder path and open the path in the command prompt by using the below command. So you can just use this command. CD is for change directory. So for that, open your command prompt. So initially it will be under C folder, so you have to switch it to E drive. Then change the directory to this path. Hit enter. Yes, now we are under this directory. Then the next step is scaffolding our SPFx solutions using UML generator. All these steps I have also explained in my previous video where we have created the Hello World web part. You can watch that video for detailed understanding. So use this command to scaffold the solution. Now this will take some time. Yeah, now it is asking what is your solution name. So it will be better if you write all these similar, but yeah, if you want a different solution name, different web part name, you can definitely go with that, but accordingly whatever code I have given, you need to make the changes in the same. So for now I will give the solution name as SPFx CRUD. Then we will use the SharePoint online environment. We will use the current folder. Keep all the steps as it is. We will create a web part. What is your web part name? Here also give the name as SPFx CRUD. Web part description. So we will use the React framework. You can go with the no JavaScript framework as well, but for that you will need to make some changes. So for now we will go with React. Now it will scaffold our solution. It will take some time. Okay, our solution is now scaffolded and it will show you the message like a solution is created. Now let's see what is the next step. Now it's saying open the solution in the VS Code. You can directly use code space dot in the command prompt to directly open the solution in VS Code. So let's do the same. Just let's type code space dot, hit enter. Yeah, it has opened the solution in the VS Code. In the previous video, I have explained you all the details regarding the file structuring of the SPFx. You can go through that video. The next step is we are going to write the entire logic for CRUD operation in the TSX file. For that, we need the context of the SharePoint. So there are, if you open the SRC folder under web parts folder under components, you can see there is one TSX file and there is also one TS file. So basically our SharePoint context is defined in this file only. So you have to pass the context from this file to this file. To use the same, we have to just define that property under this file as a context. So let's see how we can define that. We will first define a property for passing the SharePoint context from TS file to TSX, and for that you need to add the property under this props.ts file as a context of any. So here that property is added. So let's do the same. You can open this props file, and under this file you can define a property as context of any. So any is a type of that property. Save this file. Then we have to initialize that property under our TS file. So if you go in your webpart.ts file, you have to initialize that property as this.context. So let's go to TS file, and here you can define that context. Context will be this.context. That's it. So we are now ready with the property context. So now we can use this context in our TSX file. So next step is we can update the HTML as per the need. Okay, so let's do this thing. I'll copy the entire HTML. This is called the JSX, not the pure HTML. This is a JSX. So copy that and replace the existing JSX. So here you can see what we have done is like this code is the default one. We have added one item ID text field. We have added one full name, age, then just a blank div for showing the all items from the list. Then we have 5 buttons. One button will create the item, one will get the item by ID, one button will get all items, one is for update item, one is for delete item. So we have to define these functions in this file. So to define those functions, we will first import our dependencies or libraries. So for that you need to import these two files. So you can import it here, just paste it. Yeah. Now we will define the 4 functions that are being used for CRUD operation, basically 5 functions. So here I have written, when you add the functions for CRUD operation, your entire TSX file will look like below. So you can directly copy this entire file, or you can just copy each functions one by one. So if you see here, I have a function for create item, get item by ID, get all items, update item, and delete item. So let me copy these functions only. Okay, so yeah, I'll copy this thing, and you need to, let's minimize this one, and under this, after this public render, you can paste those functions. Okay, that's it. Now you can see our entire code is now ready. We just need to modify the CSS now. I'll explain the code in detail in some time. So just update the CSS file. So this is a cascaded CSS. So what I will do, I'll just entirely copy this thing, and I'll replace this thing from this SCSS file. Yeah, and just paste it here. Now only we are getting error for this create item, so let's see. Okay, I think we have missed that create item function. Yeah, here that function is. Copy this, paste it here. Okay, now we are all set. We have create functions, get item by id. Now just save this file and let's see the code in action. So I'll type gulp surf. Okay, it has loaded the local workbench. Let me open the SharePoint workbench. Okay, it's saying the gulp serve is not running. Let me check. Yeah, it is now loaded. Just refresh the page. And now you should be able to see the SPFx CRUD operation web part. Yeah, SPFx CRUD. So here is our UI. Now let's first create any item. So for creating item, this item ID is not needed. Let me just create some item like John is the full name and age is 25. So I'll create it. You can see the item is created successfully with item ID as 38. Now let's just click on this read all. Now you can see there are 3 items in my backend list. This one is the latest added. Now if I want to read the item with the ID as 37, I'll just type 37 here and I will read that item. So here you can see it got reflected here. If I want to read the item number 33, I can type the item ID and I can read it. If I put any wrong ID, let's say in my list I don't have ID more than 38, so let me type 330 and I'll try to read it. I'll get an error, something went wrong, and check the error in the browser console. So if I open the browser console, I can see the error here. Item does not exist. Similarly, if I want to delete any item, I just need to put the item ID here. So let me delete the item number 33 now. I'll put the item ID and I'll click on delete. So it will say item ID deleted successfully, and if I now read all, that item is removed now. You can see, let me create a new item now. So I'll keep the name and the age as same. I'll click on create. It will now create the item 39. You can see the same in the backend list as well. See, so these 3 entries. Let me update this item. So this is now updated. Age will be like now 28 and I'll click on update. But for updating, this 33 ID is not there in the backend list now. If you see here, we have ID 39, so I have to keep it 39 and I'll click on update. You can now see it is updated, and if I now retrieve the data, you can see it is updated. The same will happen here. Now see, it is updated. So this is what the overall CRUD operation was. Now let's go through the code, how I have written it. So as I explained earlier, this is for the input text box, and in the SPFx, if you want to define a class for any div, you have to write the class name, and under that class name you can pass the any class name. For example, you can write here like this is item ID, right? So I can pass the item hyphen ID. So this will be the class name. But if you want to give the CSS for this particular class, so in normal HTML and CSS, what we used to do is we used to write dot item hyphen ID, and in the brackets we used to give the styling. So in the SPFx it's little different. If you know, you can go to this SCSS file, and here you can see it is like it is in the similar fashion, only the thing is it's kind of a cascading thing. So for that I'm going to create a separate video on how we can work with styling in SPFx. But for now, just understand that why we have written this styles and all is because we are kind of creating an object of styles where we are defining all the classes of that particular style, and we are then defining the styling in the CSS file. So yeah, so this is for the item ID, this is for full name, age, and all items. Now let's see the actual logic. So when I'm creating clicking on the create item button, it's calling this function. So if I press F12, it will land me to that, it will navigate to that function. So here in the function, what I'm doing is like we are creating a body. That means the if you remember in REST APIs or normal REST APIs, we used to pass the body to create the list item. So in similar fashion, we will create a body. So under that body, we are defining the columns. We are passing the values from that text boxes. So now our object is ready. Now we are calling the client SPHttpClient post method. We are passing the context. So remember, this.props.context is coming from this TS file. This is the SharePoint context, and then page context.web.absolute URL. So this is the list context of our SharePoint site, and this is a normal API call underscore API web lists get by title list name / items. So these are headers, and here is the body which we are passing using this constant variable. So this method will create a item in the backend list, and then it will provide the response. So if it successfully creates the response, we are tracking as response.ok. So this will return true if the item is successfully created. Otherwise, we are handling the error here. So you can see I have then retrieved the newly created item ID using the response that we received. And in the else portion, we are popping up the alert something went wrong, and you can see the error as well. And while doing all this operation, if we face any error while converting it into JSON or anything, we are handling that in the catch block. Similarly, when we create on get item by ID, we are first reading the item ID given by the user. If it's a valid, then only we are calling the get API call. Otherwise, then we are alerting the please enter a valid item ID. For example, if I put any invalid ID like this and I'm clicking on read, it will say please enter a valid item ID. So in the get call also, we are passing the item ID to the REST call here, and once we get the response, we are using that response to set the value of text input boxes like the full name and age. Similarly, get all items, for this we are not passing any item ID, that's why it's returning all the items. And when we get the response, we are just creating one variable for table, and we are then pushing that table variable as an inner HTML to our all items class. So if you see this all items class, we have defined this class here, ID, sorry. So it's pushing the inner HTML with that ID, and this is the HTML. In the upcoming sessions, we are not going to use this method because this is just for the beginners, because when we use the React framework, we can have the option to have state and props. So by updating the state using the response, we can dynamically update the content of the our app. So I will cover that part as we proceed further, but as a beginner or for this session, just consider that we are creating one normal HTML string variable, and we are pushing the values of each item to that string and pushing that string to the this ID. So this is get all items. Similarly, we have the update item function. Here also we are capturing the ID given by the user and creating the body using the input values provided by the user. If the ID is valid, then we are calling this post method. We are using the body, and using the response we are saying that it is updated successfully. And if the ID is not valid, we are saying please enter a valid item ID. Similarly, for delete item, we are also capturing the ID and calling the post method. Here the HTTP method is delete, here it was merge, and in this way we will delete the item. I hope this was pretty much clear, and this is how we can perform the SPFx CRUD operation using SPHttpClient. In the next video, we will see how we can perform the CRUD operation using PNP. It is a very easy method than this. We don't need to write this much code for each function. This was the basic, that's why I covered using SPHttpClient, but going further we will use the PNP because it's less code and also maintainable, easily maintainable. So that's it for today's video. I hope it was clear for you. If you need any more, if you have any queries or suggestions, you can comment me. And till then, thanks for watching. And also, if you are new to this channel, you can go and subscribe to it so that you will get notified for all the upcoming videos. And finally, thanks for watching.